Hey guys, welcome back to my channel for an all new episode recap of today's Days of Our Lives, May 5th, 2025. Happy Cinco de Mayo. So let's get into this episode, alright? So we go into Kat and Chad, right? And Chad is talking to her about her upcoming date with EJ, and he's wondering if EJ has some ulterior motive. Of course, we know the underlying problem. Chad doesn't want nobody else to go out with Kat because he is too much of a punk to really confront his own feelings about Kat, right? So, anyways, Kat is not thinking much about it because it's all in the name of charity and, it's for a good cause. So, it's nothing to it. It's just platonic. But Chad think that with EJ, there's always an ulterior motive and he knows his brother. So he's going to just check it out with him, right? So Sean and Steve are talking about, hijacking the lab for this serum that is supposed to, help out Bo's condition. And right now they're really pressing for time. So Steve is suggesting that Kayla be brought into this because she knows the in and outs of the lab and she would know, the mechanisms of the injection, the serum and everything. So Sean is saying, what if, Kayla objects to it? So he's like, look, this is just a flip of the coin. We really don't know. At this point, we have no chance, no choice or anything like that. We just have to just do what we got to do, right? So he leaves, and at some point, Sean sees, Dr. Russell coming into the pub, and he comes out, and we find out at the end that he and EJ are working together for whatever reason with this drug and everything. So I guess maybe that's why EJ, invested into this fundraiser. Maybe he has something going on with the lab, or the mayor has this medical thing. So it's all tying in, especially with Xander and him wanting to invest in the mayor pharmaceuticals. So it's all tying in. But speaking of Dr. Russell, he gets to talk with Kayla again, and he's saying that the conversation they had prior, it was really abrupt, and he wanted to revisit it. So she's saying, are you changing your mind about opting out of giving me the drug to my brother? So he's like, no, I'm still not giving you because you know the whole rigmarole with FDA and the approval. And she said, I get all of that, I understand that, but you have to remember the terms of your contract, and you can't just take everything and go along with you. So he's saying, oh, so you're only doing it for the benefit of your family and not for the other people. So screw whatever else happened to the rest, right? So she's not trying to say that, but he said, you know what, we have not much to talk about. So he leaves, right? So as usual, Chanel likes to deflect, and whatever is anything is going on between her and Johnny, she likes to go bring it on to EJ and blame him for everything. I mean, yes, he's not completely blameless, but come on, I think you're deflecting your anger and your emotions towards the father and not towards the son. Yes, you have a valid reason to be angry, but we also gotta understand that Johnny also has felt a loss, or felt a huge deal of hurt, right? So you gotta like put yourself in his shoes. But anyway, she's lashing out at EJ because of him. That's why the adoption fell through this time again, and Johnny is not the same person, filled with joy and all of that. And he can't come to terms with himself because he feels like he's just like you and he has your genes, so he can't, he doesn't think he can be a great father. So EJ saying, I'm sorry to hear that, and I really thought things went through, and anything that I can do. So she's saying like, no, the drama is already, the drama, the damage, sorry, has been done. So like there's nothing you can do, right? So just know that because of that, I will forever hate you and all of that, right? So she storms out. Elena pays Johnny a visit to just check in on him because she heard what Tate did to him, sucker punched him like a real punk that he is. And, because of that, the adoption fell through. So she also filled in Johnny on the fact that Sophia had to be on advised bed rest because it was some stress or whatever. So he feels bad about that, and he's wondering if he did the right thing. because of, he talked to Chanel and Chanel kicked him out. That's why he's at the sale him in. So he's wondering if he did the right thing. So Marlena said, you did the right thing for yourself now. And hopefully in time, you'll come to terms with everything and you can really start a family with Chanel. So he said, what if I don't? Like she said, you'll never know. Like, you just got to give it some time, give yourself some grace, right? So, anyways, you know, I think that was it with them. I don't remember the extent of their conversation, but that was it. Yeah, I think Marlena did go over to the Mare Mansion. She ended up running into Chanel because Chanel was leaving, and she said, Chanel, I heard about everything. I'm sorry. So she said, are you? You're the one that actually told Johnny to, be upfront about his feelings, and now we're not going through the adoption. So she's saying, yes, I actually did, but Johnny is in a great deal of pain as well. It was a lot for him. And, I know that you're hurt. And she understands that she just wishes that he would have been upfront a long time ago before she just, he just up and did that abruptly. And, it put a hole in her heart after she lost her first baby. So she's just really heartbroken. And I'm saying I'm just over. I don't know if I'm insensitive or something, but I'm just over how Chanel feels heartbroken when she wasn't really attached to the baby. It wasn't up until a few weeks ago that they were given this opportunity to adopt this baby, right? So I don't understand. But anyways, she just told Marlon that she gave him an earful, gave EJ an earful about how he messed up things again and all that. So she went in, she talked to him, and she's get to talking about Johnny and how he just feels so regretful and that he was trying to protect him, and he just can't believe that his son really hates him. Like, he's just worried that he's gonna let it destroy him, and then he doesn't want that because he's been there himself. So he's just telling Marlena to tell him that he loves him and that he's still proud of him and that he's always here. So she said that she would do that. She understands being a parent, you gotta protect your kid, and she was there to talk to him about his relationship with Belle, right? At some point, he also asked, if he thinks that Johnny was the one that shot him. But of course, EJ is not going to tell her. So he's saying that he doesn't think that Johnny could do that, especially to his own father. But, he's just more worried about Johnny's mental health, right? Johnny went to the pub to see his grandpa Roman, but he wasn't there. He was still out with Kate doing errands, and he talks to Sean because, his grandpa Roman left him a message about something important in family. So Sean fills him in on the fact that his dad is dying. He has this sepsis related infection, and Johnny's saying, he's sorry to hear that. If there's anything going on. So Sean said that, hopefully they can, um get a miracle with this. So he asked Johnny about how things are going with his father, and he said that he's recovering. Last time I saw him, and he said that, you guys have had, an estranged relationship recently. How's that going? So he said, it's not really going. I really don't have nothing to say to him. I'm just full of hatred for him. I really can't stand to see him and all of that. So, and because of him, like, I'm not going through with his adoption of Tate and Sophia's baby. So, Sean is sorry to hear that, but he also understands that, look, he has to do what he has to do. A child is a big commitment as a father. He understands that, so he did the right thing. He also understands the whole father-son dynamic, and that's why he's trying to help his own father. He feels guilty about what happened. So Johnny said, look, like everybody has said before, it's not your fault, right? You did whatever you had to do to protect your mom, and he thanks him for saying that, but he just still feels incredibly guilty, right? Again, this was just a scene with victim criers and self-loaders, and I can't really stand either one of them, right? So Steve pays Kayla a visit, and she fills him in on Dr. Russell actually coming, and basically telling her that, look, he's not with her getting his drug. And, she told him that she can't let him out of the contract like that because he wanted to go out to see, bigger companies that would invest in him. So Steve was saying, well, he's all about the money, isn't he? So anyways, she tells him that he can't be out of the contract, and now it's a big problem. So now they're at square one. They don't even know what to do to help Bo at this point. So Steve is asking her to look at the research because she would have a hands on the research. So she said, why would you do that? What you up to? So he didn't really tell her directly that him and Sean want to go in the lab and, steal the drug and all that, but he just want to get in touch with what's going on, and he knows how much Kayla wants to help her brother and all that, right? So she said that she had a meeting to go, and he said that he was gonna grab something at the cafeteria. So he says that he would come back. So Kayla was at the meeting, and he comes back into her office, and he looks through the research, trying to see, what is what about the drug, right? So Kat runs into Chanel, and she was talking to her about some patients that she would grab later on from work, and she noticed that Chanel is visibly upset. So she said, what's going on? Are you okay? So she said that she just had a running with her father-in-law, and she's still on edge. So she said, EJ, right? So she said that she has, a fundraiser date with him. And she's like, you know what? Take my advice. Run. Block his number, whatever. He's not somebody to go on a date with. He's a monster, blah, blah, blah. So she said that she really didn't get that vibe from him. But, she heard what she's saying, right? She's telling Kat about how he messed up Johnny, and how, because of that, they can't adopt Tate and Sophia's baby. So now everything is just ruined. So she's sorry to hear that. And she said hopefully her and Johnny can work through it and understand each other's perspective, which I agree with. Like, they need to, sit down, air it out. And she needs to, invite that man home. Every time she kicks this guy out, every time something goes wrong, they're not ready for marriage. So Chad goes and pays his brother a visit because he wants to find out point blank, what's he doing on a date with Kat Green. So EJ tries to explain to him that it's all in the name of charity, and it was just a fun way to get out, given everything he's been going through recently. It's nothing to it, nothing romantic, strictly platonic for charity. And he's saying, why does it matter to you? Do you have feelings for her? Do you want to go on a date with her? So it's it's not about me. Do you have feelings for her? Because I'm saying, Chad really gonna ask EJ that. So EJ said, no, I'm spoken for. So he's like, with who? So he said that he's been with Belle, and he's like, when since? So he said that, she admitted to him that she had feelings for him, while he was in the coma and all of that. So, even though she thinks it's a bad idea, that's just how she feels. So they're just seeing where it goes. So anyways, he said, back to you, do you have feelings? So it's we're friends and all, I mean, I don't see us dating. And then, she did a lot to my family and all that. And, what about what they think? So EJ is right. EJ is saying, what about them? You can't live for people. You gotta be happy. You deserve to be happy, and I'm rooting for you, right? So Chad said he doesn't see it happening. We all know that that's bull. But anyways, he said that, Chad was trying to buy him up, but in the end, EJ was saying, let me, give you my date with Kat. So there's no pressure. You guys just have fun, and it's all in the name of charity. So you can have that as a guy, so that later on, who knows, maybe you guys will go into a relationship. So Chad is hesitant about it. He doesn't take up EJ's offer, but I'm with EJ on this. Right? Stop BSing around, Chad. Kat goes to work, and she sees Marlena. Marlena was there, I guess, some meeting. So Kat asks her what's going on with her. Is she any news on her husband? So she said, not really. So anyway, she changed the topic to the fundraising and how it went well, and she should be proud of herself. So she said, if it wasn't for her, she wouldn't have gone through with it. So she said that, she's kind of hesitant about this date with EJ, and she, Chad and her is thinking that, he's up to something. So Marlena said that she wouldn't put it past him, right? So Chanel comes over to Johnny, and Johnny was on the phone with his grandpa, and just, expressing his well wishes for Bo. He got a knock on the door. It was Chanel. So Chanel is over there, and Chanel is saying, I'm still furious with you for what happened recently, but I also have to give you grace. I have to understand that what you're going through, and I get it, you're dealing with a lot. And he's very surprised to see that she feels this way. So he's saying to her, does that mean that I can move back in? Do you forgive me? So she says she doesn't forgive him. She's still hurt. She needs more time. And he said that, your mom talked to me about fighting for the marriage, and that's what I'm, planning to do. And she said the same thing too. So he said that he's not giving up. Anything that he could do to help, he's gonna do what he has to do, right? So he's saying, does that mean that, we have hope? So she's saying, yeah, you just gotta take time. At the end of the day, I only hear him saying that he's gonna fight for the marriage. What about her? Like, she not gonna fight for it too? Like, it is a mutual thing, right? She needs to be there for him throughout this horrible time, and he also needs to really work on himself so that he can be a better person, better partner, and hopefully a better father in the end. And that's my 2 cents on this. But that is it, guys. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe to my channel. Comment below your thoughts on today's episode. I will see you guys tomorrow.